painting to beginners step by step on YouTube. And today I'm going to show you how you can paint this really dramatic, emotional eye with water running over it. I feel like it kind of sums up how many of us are feeling right now.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's going to really help you learn a bunch of really amazing techniques about water effects over skin. Like if you've been trying to paint a crying eye or any of that, you're going to walk away with the skills you need to really make some of your own original artwork. So we're going to go deep into the techniques. To help me do that on the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He theoretically turns all the cameras on and helps us go live.
Today is not my day.
I was talking for like 10 minutes. We fully thought I was live and then noticed we were not.
You were monologuing like a villain.
I was. I could have like had somebody dangling over sharks for as much as I was monologuing. So today, how I'm going to do this is we're going to break this down into steps. I'm going to explain every step, every technique, every brush, every color mix. If you check the description below, you will see a link that goes to our website, and there is going to be housed a bunch of extra material, including a traceable, because I don't expect you to draw. Also a grid reference if you're more familiar with that type of transferring an image or idea onto a canvas, and then just a photo reference if you need to have that as well. We timestamp these videos, so at the end, we'll go through and find the timestamps, the chapters, the steps, and mark them so that you can go back and find your place again easier. And how this helps you, the feedback I've been getting, John, on how this is helping everyone is that you can paint a little bit and take a break and feel kind of relaxed to know you can find your spot again without some sort of great technological know-how. On top of that, we take step-by-step pictures as we go, and that becomes a written out, fully explained little mini book that you can print out a little bit later. So if you're here for the live, hi live people.
Hello.
It's so good to see you. Thank you for always showing up and being here and being supportive. But if you're here for the replay, check that link in the description below because the mini book's probably there for you through the magic of temporal YouTube travel. Because these things are up there forever. I mean, I have some videos that are up there. I look back and I go, I can't believe we made videos like that we released them. And we were like, it's good. But we did. Mm-hmm. And so that happened. Let's talk about the materials, shall we?
We can.
Can we? Are we live?
Yes. Yes, we are absolutely live.
You see chat?
Feel like
is it real? Wait,
little.
You missed 2 Sherpas. You missed all the funny stuff. There was a lot of funny stuff that you don't get to see. It was the most brilliant stuff we ever did. Now you know.
I could give them double Sherpa.
You can't go back. Magic can't be made twice.
It's true.
All right, go for it.
You want to see double
Sherpa?
Sure.
Now you see me double.
That was double Sherpa.
Yeah, at least it's not infinite Sherpa. That would be a lot. Infinite Sherpa might be too many Sherpas. And then I might fight with myself, and that's confusing to everybody involved. All right. Canvas is an 8x8 surface. I have it on a turntable so that I can see elements of it easier. I will let you know where I'm oriented so you don't get lost. We have robotic zoom cameras so you can see techniques. I'm going to explain a lot more about brushes because I want to try to get my community to be beyond brand and to understand how brushes are created. So that later, you know I know what I'm talking about. All right. Machinations. Today's paint colors. Phthalo green. Probably can't see that right now that that's green, but that's phthalo green. If you're painting a student paint like basics or loft, you have the correct shade. If you're painting professional, I'm using green shade, blue shade. Not the yellow shade, is the blue shade. Only matters if you're painting like golden. Mars black, burnt sienna, cad yellow, cad red, titanium white. I may use more colors, but right now, this is what I'm planning to use in the video. And I'm going to sip my coffee because I'm powered by coffee. And my mic ended up really tight on my back today.
You can fix it.
I'm uptight. I didn't really get to do my hairs. So you're going to be dealing with my natural hot pink hair. Do you love it? I was born this way.
I like it. It's very pink.
So supportive of my pink hair.
You know what? Your colors have broken me. I now choose the wrong milks based on your preferences.
Oh, it's true. You did. He's been buying purple milk, which is the fat-free. I'm like, don't do that to anybody. Nobody deserves that.
There's no such thing as fat-free half and half. It's called milk. It's skim milk.
His half and half was broken for like a week. He couldn't figure out why. I looked at the bottom. I'm like, it's fat-free, sweetheart. Husbands at the grocery store.
Anyway.
So let's put up a step 1.
Oh, you were actually expecting like real...
I don't know. I thought I'd teach a class. Okay. I do that to I teach acrylic to beginners on... have you noticed the step? Guess what? The step 1 isn't across the top. Look.
We could do it like this. Watch. Hold on.
Do it good. Do it good. There you go. That's how we do steps around here. What is it? What does it say? What kind of...
Emotional eye?
It's emotional eye. I like that.
That's what you called it. With an emotional eye. And I even added the
emotional
eye.
You know what? I don't even name things anymore. I'm like keywords.
It was an emotional
like, what is it? All right. So,
I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
On the 8x8 surface, what I want to start out with, especially on this one, is what's called a ground or a colored ground. And for 2 reasons. Because we're going to be using the traceable, and I'm going to show you how to use it. And the yellow doesn't show up on the camera. But also because we want to make sure that we have a nice depth for everything coming up in the painting. So that's why we're going to start with that. I'm going to begin with a short-handled number 26 ruby satin bright. What you're really looking for is a bright that is about 1 inch wide. I don't remember how many millimeters it is off the top of my head, but I am taking measurements lately. And a bright with a nice firm filament and a nice fleck for heavy body paint. So that's what you're looking for in your brush. Doesn't have to be this brush. Just needs to be a brush with those qualities. I'm going to take this brush, though, and I'm going to dip it in water. I'll drag off the extra, and I'm going to come over to my brown. And I might even get a little black into my brown at this stage and make it more chocolatey. And it could be very streaky. I just want some paint on the surface. Right? That's all I want. Paint on the surface. How do you guys like this time?
I like this time.
I've been running such longer shows that I moved my shows a little earlier in the day because I'm like, when we really get into teaching all the techniques and making sure you guys see everything and we do these more fun, involved paintings, I was like, you guys need a little more time on the buffer. And YouTube said this would be a good time. I don't know if I should ever believe what YouTube says. But I did.
YouTube generally gets us, kind of
in the
right direction.
You never know. You never know. But you know what? None of it matters as long as I get to spend my time with you and help you paint this painting. Now, all I'm doing here is I'm just kind of like, I don't know, just for purposes, kind of making the brush strokes go one direction. But it's streaky. It's not a deep level of color, and you don't need it to be at this stage. Right? We are going to dry that, and then we'll say step 2 is putting the transfer on.
Okay, hold on a second. I'll make it quiet for you. So, thank you, guys. Ha! Okay, I'll tell. So what she did is she blew away her traceable and transfer. So I'll go get that for her. So while I'm gone, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to not use heat. Don't forget to just be cool. Paint something today. Enjoy yourself. We don't have. It's like no pressure. It's like that's what we're doing. So I'll go get that.
Thank you. That was silly. I mean, then we'll take a picture and then we'll step to it. Making the steps make sense. Learning how to do. Oh my gosh. Did I not put this in the worst place it could go? It was like, I am in the... It's like that core sample they just drilled out of Japan, which is the location of Cthulhu. Seriously. Scientists, I know you don't think Cthulhu is real, but let's not drill core samples where he theoretically lives. Shall we? Oh my goodness. When I saw that, I just I don't know if you guys caught that news story when it came out. They just revived some 200 million year old bacteria. Also seems like not a good idea to do. And the location is where H.P. Lovecraft said that Cthulhu was living and other horrible elder gods. And I was just like, it's been kind of a shaky couple of years. Let's not shake that tray and see what comes out. And then maybe let's not revive bacteria that we have no idea what it is. It's 200 million years old. They fed it and it was like, oh, now that I have food, I'm okay. Which is kind of how I am sometimes when my blood sugar is low, I guess. Now that I have food, I'm okay. Thing that I think about when I'm not painting. I have nothing to do with teaching you art, but you will hear about because talks about things.
So is this step 2?
This is step 2. Step 2 is where we're going to put the traceable on. Now, at this stage, you could use your chalk and use the gridding method, which is explained in the mini books if you want to do that. If you already know it from other previous acrylic Aprils or other classes, you can use it there. The reference is there for you. We're going to use the transfer method or the traceable method, and I'm using a product called Cerl paper. The Cerl paper, you want the darker, deeper color down. I'm going to tape that down and affix that to my canvas so it doesn't move on me. Because if it moves, then I'm going to end up with a really cool effect of it looking out of focus. I have my the traceable that you guys have that you can get from the website, free to download. You don't have to Patreon or anything to get it. It's just free. Yeah?
You keep going. I'm just looking.
We try to make as much of the stuff free as we can because we know you guys have to buy our materials. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of a big ask as it is. I'm going to grab this pencil because it seems pretty sharp. Basically how these work is that you just trace over the lines where the major structure lines are. Now I gave you some lashes. I don't really need the lashes. I will include in the mini book when we release it my handy dandy how to paint lashes better infographic because it really can, if you've been struggling with your lashes, it can unlock that experience for you. And it's been amazing and very well tested. So, well, I mean, here's what I talk to you guys all the time. And if you're like, it sucked, I change it. Or if it was like, it was wonderful, I do more of it. I'm a very simple creature in this way. I'm going to come in here and bring in the eye. I gave you some little reflection reminders just in case you struggle with that. There are 2 lines in the eye. Now, this is part of a playlist where I do eyes. I paint eyes a lot. I like to paint eyes. And there's how to draw eyes from 2 angles. There's how to paint eyes from a whole bunch of angles. Just a lot of information that you might want. Now, if you've been trying to learn how to do eyes better, I would go through and just do everything in that playlist. You'll be the bomb after. The bomb diggity. That's dating myself, isn't it? All right, here we go. We're just coming down on this fine Tuesday. Tracing.
It is a Tuesday, isn't it?
It is a Tuesday. I don't know. You know, they do daylight savings time and stuff, and then
it breaks
other things, and I just don't know when anything is.
I get it.
Now, I can freehand this later. I'm just letting you guys see me do the work. So you understand how it's done. Sometimes, look, you can't come into this just knowing something. I think it's a real mistake as a teacher for me to assume you know things. So I try to explain things, even on the 3 hoots. 3 hoot generally means we're just, maybe it's a little longer or it's a concept we think a little bit more about. This is a little light reflection. I don't know if I really need it. Let's see if I got the transfer. Let's see if it did. Yep, it did.
Cool.
So you can really see that there. I've got a little chalk here. I see a line. Now, understand that we have lashes, and the lashes are going to do kind of this little thing here because of perspective. But I'll go over that in detail when we get there. And, John, I'm going to do something different this time.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to do the eye first before I get out into the skin tone.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times we'll work the skin tone first for no other particular reason than you've got to make a decision. And I start there. But I think what happens is that there's that weird moment in painting where it has an underpainting and looks kind of, and then people coming by see the underpainting and they're like, oh, that's not going to be anything. And you guys miss how genius it is. So I'm gonna serve the dessert up front.
Well, we had an excellent super chat here.
Did we? I love super chat. Thank you.
It was from Deb. She said, thank you for being you. I wanted to say thank you, Deb. That was pretty awesome.
Thank you, Deb.
What tracing paper is that? Cerl paper?
Cerl paper. It's in the description. I like yellow. I like white. They have a blue and a red. The mini books generally tell you a bunch more about it. You can go to their website and get more information. It's a pretty good product. I like it a lot. It's a good product. I like it a lot.
A Sherpa pretty good product.
A Sherpa pretty good product. All right, I'm going to grab my number 4 round, as you do. I get my brush wet. And let's start here in the eye. And already I can see I want to add a little something. I'm going to add a little ultramarine. Not a lot. And the reason I am, if you did my 403 colors, you know that's one of my favorite Payne's grays, isn't it? It's one of my good ones. I love it so much. That is that mini book has been just the journey of all journeys. Getting wrapped up soon. Because I wanted to add more color mixing information. So I took a little Mars Black into my Payne's Gray, and this kind of cools it and blues it. And believe it or not, most of our eyes have a bit of a red, a blue, a yellow, a brown kind of cast in them. They're very rarely white. This particular eye has a bit of a blue. So we're going to start here. Right there. And just brush in that white. Then as we go forward...
Wait. I'm sorry. Did you want to take a picture of that tracing in there?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was like. They were just asking me, do you have the next step loaded? And I was like, no, I totally got it loaded. We're on step 2.
I got to teaching.
And you did. And I
got
looked
to
up,
teaching.
and I was like, oh, that's what they mean. You didn't want to paint that part, did you?
No.
But see, they're going to have to learn all that.
He'll be okay.
It's okay. We'll go. Let me
put up a step and take a picture.
I'll do that. Let me go.
Put up a step and take a picture.
All right, we can do
These
that.
things happen sometimes, like when you're going, you start to really like thinking about, so that's now, we're just going to make that the step.
It's part of the step.
That's the step now. In step 3, we'll be finishing it. But you'll know where you were. And here, in the greater medicines, it's just more important, not just that it's broken down into these sort of segmented little increments, but that you guys know where you were and what we were doing. Because if you can figure out where you are and what we're doing, you can pretty much do anything. So funny of us. All right, so step 1 is some gray. Now we're on step 3. We're going to continue forward with our Payne's Gray.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you to the moderators and
Thank you, moderators. Come here on the back side. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the area where the water is because that's a whole different set of effects that we have to deal with in the stream. Oh my gosh, I almost put my brush in my coffee. Why would I do that? You know?
I do not.
But you can kind of tell yourself some stuff, like there's a little bit of gray there. And a little bit there. Because the water is going to reflect. Now, as we go forward, let's get a little more blue, a little more gray. We're just going a deeper value. And this is helping us shade the whites of the eyes. I'm doing a little almost transitional mixing here. Come up here. I really like to do a realistic eye. I don't know about you guys, but it just, for some reason, is super therapeutic to paint eyes. I paint eyes like I'm Byzantine. That's funny to a few people. Probably very few people. And a couple American gods, I guess. I paint eyes like I'm Byzantine. I've waited years for that joke to be able to tell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very knit joke.
You gotta wait for an empire to fall to make it.
So we've got that kind of basis for that part of the eye, and let's come in. We know we want black in our iris. That's pretty straightforward, isn't it? And you're going to want to take a little black along here. Right up to that edge there. Then along the front of your water, bring a little bit of that black line. Around this and kind of coming down. Back. Another place that we want kind of a dark line, get a little more white and dark. We want it kind of dark. Will be along the lid, and I'll turn this a bit. What we're doing is we're doing what's called blocking in the eye. getting certain basic values worked out. Now, my brown, I'm going to be doing some lighting inside the eye, which is where light kind of comes through the curve of the lens and really illuminates some of the different colors that are in the eye. But let's just begin with brown. And we'll come back with the fire. That's it. We're going to put some fire in this eye. Coming around here.
Mm-hmm.
And then on this back side, we're going to take our brown into our black.
It's so dark.
Right now it needs to be. This is the bane of John's more existence.
It's okay. I can. Well, I'm just going to adjust it up. But I mean, it's.
If we're not doing acrylic, we're doing watercolor, and then it's all too light. We're doing a crashing wave on the rocks on our watercolor Wednesday tomorrow. Kind of doing it because of joy.
It is artificially bright.
It
so
is
you can
artificially
see it.
bright. All right, let's call this a step. Though I like that. I like it artificially bright. Let's just leave it there.
Okay, I can leave it up here. But when I cross zoom, it will be back into normal light.
But you'll see it. You'll get it.
So
let's call it a step. So we're blocked in this eye. Right? That's what you got to do. You got to get some basic values in. If you want to understand the construction of an eye, I have how to draw an eye from the front and how to draw an eye from the side, and it's the right and wrong of how to draw an eye. Sometimes when I explain to you guys the mistakes a beginner would make and how we correct for it, it helps your brain unlock what it kind of already knows, but it just didn't know it knew. It's like a secret that your brain didn't know it knew, but it does now. Totally does now. All right, coming forward.
You know the nose.
Kind of knows. Now, I'm going to get a little more of my white. I don't want it to be pure white. I don't. A little blue into it. And another trick that I'm going to do is I'm going to use golden glazing liquid. That's going to help me do kind of thin, transparent glazes and slow down the drying time of the paint. And come here and just really work this through. A little more white. Right here, kind of bringing up the light in the eye. As we go forward, there's this wonderful kind of pink, and I'm going to get my brush over to my cad red. Kind of talk a little bit about that here. Pour it into the tear duct. Now at this stage, I may put out some quinacridone magenta because there is a little quin in this. We want to make sure that we've got the distorted reflection happening. And it's when we put the white in that it's going to really come together, that's water going over the eye. Let's put out a little quin magenta. This is quinacridone magenta. I'm using the Artist Loft Level 3. So I'm mixing golden artist colors, Artist Loft Level 3, and Sennelier. And I can do that because they do mix. I'm going to take a little of my quin and my cad red. And pick some of this up a bit. It's good times, good times. Starting to think about it. And there's a little bit of a pinking on the inside, and you can almost glaze here. I've got a little bit of the glaze on. See how I come over the gray?
Mm-hmm.
I can glaze that in. And push that back. Push it back, push it back. A little more magenta here. I like to really get into what's happening in the tear duct. I'm going to get a little black. What's also wonderful is there's quite a lot of makeup in her eye and smeared around her eye. That's going to give us a lot to work with. I'm glazing back, which means that the color is transparent. When you hear me say the word glaze, what I'm saying is there's a bit of a transparency to the color, and I'll finger blend it.
I have a question.
I'm not above finger blending.
Just in general, while you're kind of working on that.
Okay.
So, if
add a little shadow right
you
here.
found yourself as like sort of an intermediate artist, what would you say that you should focus on to try to bring your eye to the next level?
The shadow under the lid.
Yeah?
Yeah. So first thing that beginners and intermediate artists start to see is that there's quite a lot of shadow cast under the lid and the lighting, the actual lighting and reflection in the eye. That's the big thing. Start to see where the highlights. When we do, at the end, we're going to use fluid paint. We're going to do some really detailed highlights, which is going to make our water seem so wet. And it sounded like the Martian right now. Wet. But it is going to seem really wet, and that's going to help our eye pop forward, and we're going to be doing that nice service. Look at our nice little eye. We'll come back into our white paint here. The other nice thing about, we've had the fireplace running today, so it's a little bit dry in the room. And then tap in. Notice I'm tapping the brush up and down. This is another way to apply paint where you're trying to kind of make incremental movements into how something is lit. You can tap it in. And this comes through a bit. I don't want to take the blue away. The blue is there. Tap out that way. Starting to see that. And then, we've got kind of a nice little lighting coming back here. A little more of an angle. Not completely white, but definitely lighter. And then one right here. Little blue, little black, always get right into that. And back into the little highlight. Build it up. So we're starting to see that eye begin to glow and have some drama. A little bit of Quin, a little bit of red again. Little lighter here. Right, a little bit along there. A little bit along there. I feel like I want a little more dark.
Yeah.
So I'm getting into my brown and black. I'm still on my number 4 round.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's a good round.
It's a good brush. Bring a little shading here. Take a little shading up the eye. And we are going to shade the eye, we're going to be up here and going to be like quite dark. A curve there. A little dark ring. And then we'll call this a step.
Will you?
Yeah, because I want you guys to really see how it's built. I want to see the best eyes you have ever painted on the internet, and I want to hear you tagging me on Instagram going, I can't believe I did it, but I did it. I broke it down into steps. I saw the process, and then all of a sudden it was like clear to me, and now I'm painting all the eyes. I'm a little excited. I will calm down, and at least we got the steps. This is going to be a few steps, but we're not going to stop on 13 because y'all know how I feel about that. And do you like this, that we're going the other way this time? Instead of doing all the skin tones and then finishing out at the eye, we're getting that eye out of the way at the beginning so you know it's going to be fun. So that's why we came, right?
Oh, there we go.
It doesn't ever really matter what order on this particular part of the process. It's pretty good all the way through. I'm going to take a little of my cad red and my cad yellow. We're going to get some very decided orange. I'll mix it into my burnt sienna. And we're going to begin to light inside the eye. Brushing back and forth. I'm on the toe of my brush. It's like a feather blending here. I'm letting the brush kind of flick, and the bristles of the brush are so that's starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little more yellow into that mix. Here on that outer edge. Just going to paint today. And I did kind of back myself out so I could have time to really get into it.
I'm going to ask the moderators to drop a couple links for us here. One for the still life that we did, because there was someone in here just asking about apples and glazing apples. And you just did a really good subject on that with your still life, didn't you?
I did. They were tomatoes, but
they would totally cover this.
It would cover that, yeah. It would cover it completely.
So hang out there and we'll see if we can get that. Now, if you're curious, Cinnamon will tell you where on our website the other videos are hidden.
What do you mean?
We're not?
I have no idea. I don't know what he means.
This is, you know where you softly as a co-host try to pass the mic back over to your
host? Whenever he tries to pass, like he'll lob me the most beautiful moments, and it's not like I never did improv, but it's like I go boom, boom, and I watch it hit, and I'm like,
you're painting.
That would have been so funny if I had just caught it.
In all
Can
fairness,
you're up on my coffee?
Yeah, you're painting though. So I understand. So what I was saying is, tell them where the videos are hidden.
If you go to TheArtSherpa.com, there is a Traceables tab, a video tab, a blog tab, acrylic April tab, and a big art quest tab. You're going to want to hit the videos tab, and then you just search by keyword the videos. If you can't find something, email support at TheArtSherpa.com. It may just not be tagged. I have 1,500 art lessons that are free. So chances are I has it somewhere that I covered it. Like lately, I've been putting together playlists for each new subject I'm doing. I'm like, wow, I have covered this topic like maybe a few times. But I love that I get to, because it really helps me, find my own process into you guys. Now, there's some beautiful green cast into the eye. And we definitely want to get into that. And we really want to pay attention to the little red, that there's flecks, that there's a whole bunch going on. But right now we're going to get some basic values through and those glazes through. And then we're going to do some detailing that's going to blow your mind. You're going to be like, man, this is like a colored pencil cool. And I'm going to be like, yeah, I know. All right, let's pull a little cad red over to our burnt sienna. You're going to notice that that sort of reds that burnt sienna up. And tapping up and down. I'm also going to take a little bit of this kind of burnt red sienna around the black part of the eye. A little bit here to the outer dark ring. The outer ring. And don't forget to dash some into the eye. A little more orange and yellow with the burnt sienna. We're lightening it up. Tap this in. Tapping in the highlight. Look at that go. Just builds up.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to build it up. Now, I'm going to take a little of my green over to all this and mix my green in. And you'll see that there's just a mild green cast. Bring some of that green, reflect around the eye. Don't forget your green speckles. It's kind of a mild green. It's not deep. It's just there. Because there's a bit of a hazel to the eye, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that I can't exaggerate it a little bit. It's pretty nice, pretty good. I want to still do a dark brown on the outside edge. So I'm going to take my black and my brown again. Let's make sure we kind of flick in some like dark brown spots through as well.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that eye starting to be an eye.
It really is.
A little more
Super impressive.
yellow. I know, it's so much fun.
You must have done this before.
A few times. Add a little white into it. A little drama. These lighter little pops, I'm going to focus right through this curve.
Yeah.
Right. They're not going to go deep up here or deep up here. Just got to find that as you go. Rinse out. A little bit of my black, a little bit of my glazing medium. There we go. Starting to get there. Shadow under the eye. Let's call that a step.
All right.
You're doing pretty good. Lovely little eye that she has. That's super fun to paint. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot.
That
Now-
doesn't seem right.
What?
It's not.
You're just randomly
No,
stepping.
what happened is that every once in a while it seems that the it doesn't like and resets itself. So I'm going to go over here and tell it no, it was bad. Then we can do it again. It won't take but a second. See, and it just listened, but it took it a second to go. Yeah, I'm okay. It decided it was a different thing. So.
Now, normally I would do my big reflections at the end, and some of my big stuff to give you wow at the end. But again, I'm trying to show you guys that we can do this, so I'm kind of front loading the lesson. Huh? Where? Okay. I'll look at my hands. On a place it doesn't matter, but I'll find it and fix it. Fix it. Fix it. Don't worry, I wasn't saying the F-bomb. Yeah. It's just dirt. It's just dirt. Just dirt. So we will do some of our bigger highlights and some of our more wow moments now, just because it will be of value to us. I still want this to have just a smidge of a blue cast because I want the bright whites. To really register out. So there's a bit of a really great reflection there, and then again here and here and here. So we're just saying, ooh, some amazing reflections. And I'll start with a little of my blue and white, and I'll be on the toe of my brush, and we're going to go like this. We're going to go a little bit of a curve stroke. Break those strokes a little bit. And So they're going to curve to the left as you move towards the left side and kind of curve to the right as you curve towards the right side. This is actually about the eyelashes. I don't remember where I was in art when I realized, oh, that is about the eyelashes. Somewhere along the way. So you want to get those, and they don't want to be your brightest whites. Curve down a little bit of a reflection right there. Now we're going to come up into the eye up here. Tap. Make a little downward kind of zig. Little dots. Little spots, lots of little moments. This is really where it just is going to come to life when we get the bright on it. The part I really enjoy. Finding these little seconds. All these little bits that kind of make an eye really feel like an eye. I'm going to put out my fluid paint if I can figure out where I stuck it in the first place. I know I moved some over here. You see it over here, John?
Your
bottle
fluid
of fluid
paint?
white? Oh, yes, I do. It's in my bucket.
Oh, look, there it is in your hand.
In my hand.
I see
where it totally will fool me forever. And I am going to switch brush a little bit. I'm going to go from my number 4 to my monogram liner. Do you have to have a monogram liner or a long script liner or a long liner? No. But they are very handy dandy and you might want one. And come right here with my fluid white paint. And some of these will have bright white areas in them.
Ooh. Awesome.
Yeah, you definitely want to have some of that right here. Look at that happen. Isn't it amazing when it happens? When it happens, you're like, what? Wait, what? Yeah. It's cool. Making sure you've got those nice. Little spots. Little moments. Are you done? Nope, you're not done. Little dots around that center. I love that you can see this because without John there to help you, now I'm going to turn this so I have to see where my lash line is versus my little shadow because I've got to come here and get some of those little lines going. I know many of you were like, what? Little dot right there. Yeah, this is what I do. But I don't just do it, I show you how to do it. This would be a great Instagram thing. You could watch me time lapse it. It'd be fun, right? But not as fun as when you get to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I get excited. Put a little drop there. Looking good, isn't it? This is going to probably be the best eye I've done on my channel. Because I've never, you know what it is I've just never just taken that minute to just get in it like this. And I was like, I'm going to get in it this time and really show y'all what you can do if you just take a breath.
Your skill improves as you do stuff too.
It really does. In my bravery in teaching live, like I think when I started, it was so hard for me to talk and teach and paint.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really hard thing to do. Like I used to talk to John, I was like, it's like the painting got all mushy and slipped. And I used to call it slippage. And then I was like, and then I had to stay out of the bob zone, which is where you start to talk like you're in a very small, quiet space in your mind. But you do, you start to feel like you're in a quiet space in your mind. And that quiet space in your mind really starts to wreak havoc, right? Now, I will like come in and do the water a little bit more, but there you go. So that's the level where we're going to take it. If you're wondering where we're going here. We're just going to bring in the rest of it now. And now that you know that we can, right? Because sometimes when you're new to this, you don't know. I'm going to also do this. Just a little bit of a, there's a little bit of a reflection I always like to do in the eye, whether it's present or not, because sometimes lighting doesn't show it, but I find that it's very helpful. There you go. All right, step.
You got it.
Now we'll do some of the other work we have to do. How you loving it? Are they loving it? Are we even live? Okay, I just need to make sure you're not messing with me. Like we couldn't go live, and you didn't want to tell me, so I wouldn't. Because sometimes, like I'll be like, oh, "I'm so sad, we're not live," and the show is not as energetic. And so
and now you're checking. You're like, going, I'm gonna go final.
I'm gonna go be live. All right.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna get into my round blender because I just really like it for soft things, and we're gonna start to put in some skin tone. I'm going to get that wet a bit. And let's take a little of my brown and my cad red and my yellow. More brown. You can grab some white. Start to find some. Now, this is above her brow. I can always get some glazy medium. Now here's, guys, I do want to make sure that I paint inside where my drips are going to go. I'm just using my brown and my yellow and my white. I'm just going to brush this down. I want a soft, kind of diffused look. Why this is a really great tool. This is a number 12 Princeton Select Round Blender. It has a natural hair round dome blend. What you need to know is this is, I'm going to say this is camel, which means it's not actually camel. If you didn't know, it's a blend of several different animal hairs, none of which were rendered for the making of this brush. And then this particular brush is cut into the dome shape. It's not hand shaped, as some brushes would be. If you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know. Add a little yellow into it. And sometimes some white. Just want to make sure that we've got some nice basis.
That makes sense.
And this is the other reason why going with a nice dark brown was a good way to go with her skin tone. Is it would keep her from being washed out. And I will take some of it down into her eyebrow with a little more brown. And the reason I would do that is that we're going to shade everything as we go. And get my brush a little bit wet. And this is just the beginning. In the beginning, there was some cad red and some cad yellow and some Princeton and on occasion some white. Not enough yellow. And probably not enough white. If you need help with skin tones, I have a whole group of videos on that. And if you need help with dark skin tones, I have 34 art creators in my featured section that you should check out. So whatever your needs are, I've got you covered. My whole thing is I just want you to paint. Feel good about what you can paint.
Yes.
Now I come through here. I know I'm going to maybe darken that a bit because we've got the brow. And the other thing that's super fantastic about this particular piece is even beyond this, above it, on just catching her skin tone and getting her value in things, is that her makeup is super smeary and she's wet, and so there's reflections, there's all kinds of light stuff. It's really cool. So add a little black through here. And again, I'm just working this out, getting the skin tone through. I like this because it allows me to diffuse so much of this. And in this particular case, that's what we want. We want to diffuse it. So her skin tone, burnt sienna, cad yellow, cad red, sometimes a little bit of white for the most part. On occasion, we will get some quinacridone, magenta together to rosy up her skin tone, like where she might have capillaries closer to the skin, or there would be, you know, a reason for her skin tone to be rosier, which, believe you me, between your feet, your fingers, your hands, your ears, your nose, your lips, your hair, you're just... You will never, ever squeeze a flesh tone out of a tube of paint and get a whole figure done. They're just, you know, even they're starting to even tonality on Barbie. Have you noticed, like, all the dolls are starting to get some, like, shading and stuff? Because we're just a hot mess. We're beautiful and we're a hot mess, and that's as we should be, right? And adding a little more red and brown as I come forward. You know, where you want to add a little yellow and a little white for highlight. And then some darker values for under the lid. It's really cool how you can, like, I'm just in the brown and black now. Again, pick this one for a reason. For so many reasons.
So many.
Come back with some black. So happy. This is what I needed to paint today. Now I'm going to come back and really do some stuff in the water. And I kind of gave you an idea what we'll be doing there, but when we get into this little drop of water, it's going to get real.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it'll get serious. Going to just dust a little. I'm getting right into the black here. And we'll take this back a bit and kind of rough through the canvas, right? Smudgy. It's been a day.
It has been a day.
It's been a day for all of us. It's been a day for all of us.
So just
Coming
adding
through
more.
here,
Yeah.
we're going to kind of highlight. And I think I want it even a little bit lighter. And remember where I said we might get into some magenta? I might get into some magenta here. There's a lot more magenta around the eye. And we'll put those little teardrops back. They're going to be a lot of fun to put in. I can find them again. They're in the traceable for you guys because sometimes it's hard for you guys to find your way back to a thing. Be a little more magenta. Notice I'm just a little more magenta. We're just starting to put those evaluations in. A more magenta now into our mix. If you need blending medium, you get right into the blending medium.
It so tones out that skin.
It does. Well, there's a lot happening between the makeup and the lighting and the water and her. There is a lot.
Mm-hmm. Is that her friends again?
It's her friends again.
Our daughter is popular.
But she says she's not. She's like, I'm not. And then she'll count her friends. And she's like, I only have this many. Like, I think that feels like there's more friends than Mommy has going right now. We're just going to add a little bit of a shadow. And we need to kind of make sure that there's a transition from the nose. It's maybe needing to be a little lighter than what I have going here. So that'll be a bit of a journey. But this is Ready Player level paint layer 1.
Can you talk? Are you using the glazing medium there?
I am. I'm grabbing glazing medium quite often. It's doing a couple of things. It's keeping the paint from drying out on me too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also allowing me to really get into this and grab some magenta and some yellow and blend it. Because we got to blend it, right? And I will probably remove my water drop because I want to catch a particular kind of shading there. I'm just trying to get it going. And sometimes you've just gotta start somewhere, right? I'm going to brush this back. Because we know we've got a nice little and her forehead's a bit brighter and lighter as well. There's more sunlight. That would be too light though. A little more brown in there. And this is sort of fun because again, great exercise on catching all of this. And the bridge of her nose is sort of going off the canvas. And there's a bit of a highlight here. And then through here where her brow hits and starts to go is when we start to see a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to start to try to capture that. Excuse me for just a second. I have to get past. I have a lot of reflection.
Yeah, it's okay. But you find the glazing medium helps you.
Yeah. On something like this, I wouldn't want to try to do it without it. You could. You just work a little harder for everything.
Now, if you didn't like the gloss,
you do matte.
And it wouldn't necessarily perform any different for them?
I have this weird preference for gloss. I feel like it's more glidey, but I have absolutely zero it's just so anecdotal for me, I can't even tell you.
You believe it has more glidiness?
Yeah, but I have a suspicion. I'm grabbing some more CAD into that. CAD red. I have a suspicion that it's just my feeling.
It's a subjective, not objective.
I think it might be. Super, super duper. Super duper duper. Subjective, not objective. I want to just make sure that I'm getting this. This will be the hardest little curve around to get for me, especially on this flat surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here. And we're going to call that a step because that was a lot of work just to get that much in, wasn't it? And we got to get a lot lighter as we go.
Yes.
So here we go. And you'll have to eat my coffee again because I let it get warm.
That happens.
But there we go. Moving, moving, moving. And then we've got to get all that cool smudging in and all of that. So I'm kind of excited about how we're going. Are you liking how she's coming together? When she's all done, she's going to be one of those pieces when you look at her on your wall, you're going to be like, wow, like I got there. I did that. And I love when I get to give you guys that feeling. I'll let you heat that. Can I? Okay. And then I'm going to sketch a little bit.
Okay, let's see here.
All right. Ready?
Yeah. So, don't you guys forget, if you're joining us on the replay, that down in the link in the description down below, you can find information on our website, which has a link to all of the mini books, the traceables, the reference materials, all of the other videos that you might need to find, and just to make that a little easier. Don't forget to hit the subscription, the little subscribe button, all that stuff on YouTube. If you want to get text notifications when we go live, you can send the message, The Art Sherpa, all one word, to the number 33222, and we'll be able to tell you when we go live.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of sketch in where my brow is going. And that way I can find kind of the bend in my nose here that we've got to do. So we've got a little bend in the nose and I've got to find it again, even as I'm shading. And then there's some very important areas here that are going to come around in a highlight. So I've got this very bright highlight here that I've got to work out. And it's sort of interesting. This is actually in a good range for the bend. I'm sure I'll be lightening it a bit. And then we've got a very bright area that's light here, even though we see that there's a lot of smudging. So we've got to kind of capture how that's going to go through there. I've got the shock of light here and through here, and then we start to come off to shadow here. So every once in a while, as you're painting, you may need to reset your drawing. Like you might need to be like, where am I at on that? And I may even need to bring that in even more. Because we're trying to make sure. And so her brow will be. Sure, we've got a good brow going. So I will go in sometimes and resketch. I'll dry and resketch and like really see where I'm at and what I'm doing. Like you do. So I'm going to take a little of my white up here, all of my yellow, my white. I've got my brown. I'm going to just definitely, and I'll make sure I've got enough glazing medium to really pull this out. And I'm going to have to put my drops back in just to get the effect that I want. I need to get some magenta into the mix. I will. This is like matching makeup, right? Dusty, 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 dusty. And it's okay. Need to dust in Lila.
So many friends.
They all have my number.
They do. We need to change that.
We do. Oh my gosh. I think her plan to like force us to get her a phone is just have all her friends call us.
Her birthday is coming up.
She knows what's up. She's like, how I'm going to get a phone, girls? I'm going to just have you call my parents while they're working a bunch. And then they're going to get me a phone. I'm going to just make sure that this is sort of a soft transition. one of the things is you'll find is that the water will be about a shade lighter and only have some of the highlighted values. So just be aware of that as you're painting, that's something that you'll be dealing with. As I come around, I'm going to go more into the brown and maybe more into the cad red. I'm going to just make sure that I'm diffusing softly my light into my black and brown. And I can come here and sort of, so there's a little bit of breaking between the makeup and that. Now I'm going to kind of shade to the shape of her face, right? So my brush strokes will start to kind of go that way. I can kind of feel that. Even before I put any of the dusting or makeup and everything in there, I really want to kind of make sure that I've got that captured. Back into my burnt sienna. And I'm turning my canvas kind of vertically to me and just dusting around the eye. And that's just to make sure that when I come through with the smudged makeup, I have the skin tone underneath it. And I can kind of come back with even a little bit of my, notice that I dirty brush, but coming back with a dusting of my cod red. It's fun for me.
Do you have an eye playlist?
Yes, I do. I have an eye playlist. I have a how to draw eyes. I have a how to paint eyes. I have fantasy eyes, fast, more realistic eyes, slower, more realistic eyes. One that's like about an hour. There's like they're there, but it's the same concepts. And I find when you practice, you do better and better and better. In my opinion, I'm gonna take a little of my cad red and my Quin magenta, which many of you know is like a favorite. Mix this right here. Get some white up and into it. More glazing medium. Adjust this back and forth. Now I know I've got the dark up here at the eye, but we put that like magenta undertone under there, so I'm not too worried about it. Soft, 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 soft. And then as I come out here, I get lighter with my brush. Let more of the canvas that's underneath show through, as you do. As you do. A little more. I'm going to need to put out a little more glazing medium. We're just going to build this up. That's why I gave you the eye early on, so you knew what you were working for. Sometimes as a teacher, I do weird things like that to be like, I need you to know why you're trying so hard. Also, we're going to bring some of this kind of over here, just a little bit. Coming up the side there. A little bit of Quin and the magenta and the burnt sienna. We know where we're going, right? And I'm shading the scoop. We've got the bridge of the nose here. We've got a shade from the bridge down to the slope of her nose. Also, you really, really want to pull those things together. Now I'm going to kind of remove my chalk line so it's not visually confusing my mind, as they can at some point. I'm going to start to blend this way and get a little bit of my white, a little more yellow. The dust here between those two zones. Get kind of happy with it. A little yellow. So where I have a little more light on her, I go more into the yellow, and where she's a little more either near the eye or in shadow, I go more into the reds. Oh, it's getting there. Okay, you're gonna have to tell Luna. Luna has my phone. I don't know how this is happening. I gave her my phone. She must be gaming or talking to somebody.
Making notes.
Huh?
Making notes.
You are?
I am.
To murder daughter later?
Do not call us
during the show. Okay, so I'm going to bring a little. There's some really kind of brighter, really noticeable kind of white highlights coming down her face here. And that's because her face is somewhat in light, it's wet. And when your skin is wet, you do tend to have a bit more of, a reflection.
And you're just dipping into the glazing medium there as you go?
Yeah, I dip into the glazing medium and I brush back and forth. So what I'm doing is you'll notice I'm not loading this brush very heavy at any point.
Hold on.
Right? The load on this brush, look how light the load is on my brush. I'm almost like working it like a pastel brush. The load is so light. I get a little bit, just the smallest amount of paint, and then I come in and I work a little more, and I work a little more, and I work a little more. And it's important to do that. Maybe a little bit of the red and yellow, my cad red and my yellow. And come under where the brow should be and kind of hit a highlight here. And then brush through. So a little red and yellow, and I'm brushing through a highlight. We're just spending time with her. She deserves our time. Let's give it to her. She deserves our time, our intention, and our consideration as we paint her. All of our paintings do. And they do because in some way, all art is about self-portraiture. Tells a story of us a little bit. And you deserve time. Bring this down here. Again, very soft. Very soft. Very, very, very soft. Oh, I love this. This is so much fun. Okay. Let's call that a step because that was a lot to take in and we have some refinement to do. And so sometimes, even though we're doing a lot of the same thing, I'll give you guys an area as a step so that you can catch up to me, work out some of the values, understand what I'm doing, and also so I can sip some coffee. Coffee sipping also being very important. More glazing mediums. Now there's some interesting things that we can do with a glazy medium. Like I can take this brown right here and put some glazy medium on it and work it through. And I can come down nose and sort of bridge and shade, if you'll notice. Right? It's a very powerful thing that we can do. If I want to take a little bit of the brown in my glazing medium, I can take a little black and brown.
Come to the side camera there.
If you have beautiful natural eyebrows, you won't know this. I was born with very fair eyebrows, so I know this. When you do your eyebrows and when you do your makeup, and you never want to just do pencil, because it'll look like you just did pencil. So you have to do kind of like a base shading to the eye and then put in your hair. That is true often in painting. I'm going to take this little brush. Princeton, number 12, select round blender.
Now, there was a good question here about
glaze.
additives that are not paint grade.
Not paint grade. Do you mean like you found sand at the beach and you want to put them in, or do you mean like people?
Like
no, because we get asked that. I want to add ashes of a beloved family member to the painting, so now I know the answer to that.
Wants to paint with vegetable glycerin or other tubed stuff.
So, first of all, the glycerin isn't so much cheaper than the golden acrylic glazing liquid gloss or a slow drying agent in your area. So it isn't really a value. And there are surfactants, sulficants, high pH levels to your paint. The pH is affected by pigments. There are so many. The reason they hire chemists to make paint is you need a chemistry degree. And when you add glycerin or when you add soap or when you add any of these things to your painting isn't going to explode. You're not going to die, but it does start to break down the efficacy of the paint. And that's all that happens. And as long as you know that, as long as you understand, like, well, I am doing some damage to how my paint performs, then you're okay. Taking a little bit of that glaze and kind of, you'll notice sort of shading in that little circle over there. Now I'm going to get a little bit of my white and a little bit of my yellow. Oh, too much yellow. Wow, that was so much yellow. It was too much yellow.
I'm going to have to shrink you a little bit.
Okay.
It's okay. So
I'm going to mist my paint because it's skinning on top. We don't want it to skin, which is where it dries a bit. I want yellow in my white, but I don't want that much yellow. And I don't want that much paint on there. And I'm going to get some glazing medium in here. And right here, we're going to very lightly kind of deal with the highlight around the bridge of the nose. And the reason why there's some bright white highlights on her is that her skin is dark and she's wet and she's well lit. And that's going to create quite a dramatic reflection on her. You would see this on somebody fair, but not as well. And you would see it differently. Like sometimes it'll bring out the red in the skin and stuff. And so you've really got to look at references and photos to kind of get a sense of how different lighting moments affect.
Let me go up there.
I'm just laughing.
What are you laughing at? All the messages?
Oh, no. I got a notification of that somebody alive. I was like, oh.
Is there an additive for painting on fabric?
Yes, GAC 900, GAC 900 by Golden Artist Colors is the most effective out there for acrylic paint. It makes the paint flexible. It makes the paint adhere to the fabric. It makes the paint wash and use more temperate.
Interesting.
It is, isn't it? I'm just taking a little bit of. You can see I will do finger rouging, which just means sometimes I blend out the paint with my finger. I'm using the glazing medium. This is what it is. This is the brand. Now, I tell you guys all the time, the magic is in you and it's not in the brush. And the magic is in you and it's not in the thing. And that is absolutely true. And there are lots of ways to do this. You could get some colored pencil involved. You could do some different things, pastels, and do a multimedia piece and really get some effects. If you want this to work this way, glazing medium is your friend. And if it's the type of art that you're really enjoying doing, I would get some. If you can. You can see I've got a nice reflection coming down her nose now that I'm really liking. All right, so we're going to come here as well. And I do like to use my finger. This is great if you know you're not allergic to the paint. If you're at all worried, you can use a rubber glove. And a lot of artists who work with their hands in the paint all the time will. There's no benefit to feeling it in any way. It doesn't benefit you to feel it. I'm going to kind of tap up and down a bit.
The shading.
Yeah, just pulling some of this here. I'm very light in my brush pressures.
I see that.
Where I'm getting these effects. I'm not heavy with it. I'm not heavy. Take your time. It's okay. You've got a second. Right? That's something that's so important to remember. You've got a second.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're not in art battle. There's not a countdown clock. I mean, I have one because I'm on YouTube. You don't have one. You're at home.
There's no speed component?
And I'm not even really paying attention to the speed component today because all I want is you guys to have the painting that you wanted to have when you saw the thumbnail. Which I know what painting it is. Just take your time. You've got a minute. That's too much yellow. And so you'll see me just work it through the brush, right? So I finished that whole thing, John, about that 1985 series of murders. So there's this Netflix series, Murder Among the Mormons, and I watched it. Here's my whole thing on that. I have no religious comments. Don't worry. Don't brace. I have nothing but love for everybody. You take your journey where you need to take your journey. For this guy, though, and if you're in prison and you're watching right now, what were you doing? You're so talented. What a ridiculous use of your talent. This guy was so good at forging that he fooled the FBI. He fooled every expert in the industry. He fooled everyone since he was 14. Somebody should have put that kid in art school. That's all I have to say about that. Just a life wasted. If you're a young person right now watching this and you're forging things, stop. You're good enough to be a professional in the industry. Don't forge. Not worth it.
Your segues are
like,
abrupt.
Like a car careening around a corner.
Squirrel!
Just saying, it made me crazy. John sleeps at night, so I can't wake him up. I'm adding a bright highlight. I'm dusting that right there. You can see my brush right here, getting really into it, right? I mean, that's just crazy to me. You're so good that you can fool all those people, that you can make a doc. It's so hard to make paper look 10 years old. 150-year-old paper, what he did, the way he did it, I was like, this kid missed his calling. And then also murdered people. Can I also say this to you? To you out there, if you're sitting there going, oh no, I'm in trouble, I should murder people. Don't! Don't. It's a ridiculous solution for your problems. Get a divorce. Turn yourself in. There's so many choices. Don't kill anybody. What are you guys doing? What? What? I'm fine. Sometimes I'm up at night. I'm sorry. Don't click away. I apologize. I teach art. Keep dusting some of the white and yellow on your little brush, and you're going to just continue to build these highlights up. And I will never be as good as that kid who was like forging. I guess he wasn't a kid. He was like, by the time he like murdered everybody, he was like in his 30s. He knew better. We're using the hair, this blend of hair. And I have to tell you, one of the features of this being camel, which is not camel, that's not what that means on the brush. Whenever you see camel, it's like all the hair, just a blend of hair. Is that it has so many different densities. That's one of the things that makes a good synthetic brush is the different densities. And then on this, with the natural hairs, it really does. And so when you're looking for a dome blender, that's what you're going to look for.
It's almost like a makeup brush.
Yeah, except they would never do this in a makeup brush.
It's very stiff.
A makeup brush would not use this blend of hairs. They wouldn't do that to you. Okay, I'm getting there. I love it when I'm like, too much. And then I'm like, no. One time I had thought I would go into funeral services. I really like that movie, Death Becomes Her. Oh my gosh, my daughter's too popular. That is not my teenager either.
Nope.
It's not my teenager. Okay, the little bright of yellow is going to come in because we're going to have a little bit of a reflection there. So I'm just adding a little bit of a yellow. Okay, let's call this a thing because yeah, that's a thing. That's the thing. We'll call this a step because we got to do some other stuff now. Some serious stuff. Do you love the glow on her? I love the glow on her. I love her glow. Her glow is so glowgious. She's so glowgious. Glowgious. Oh. Hope I didn't eat it. I did. It's bad. I'll have to crawl back there later. I feel super bad for him. But right now, we're going to do a little thing. We're going to get our chalk out again for a minute. And we're going to talk about where we're putting our water drops and things. Well, no, we have a little more makeuping to do. But let's still dry our painting because we really want all the layers to be stable as we come in and add this sort of like dusting and rouging of mascara and things.
Right. So she's doing that. Now I'm back down over here. Now, hey, welcome to our live YouTube show where we're professionals and know how to do this stuff. I promise. Stick around. So, there she is. She's all done. Hello.
I feel like this, I'm going to back to the number 4 round. Mm-hmm. I feel like this would be one of those things. I'm going to get fresh water too, just for giggles. Would be like one of those things where like it could be its own book. I'm going to get into my black here and my brown a bit.
Is the blender softer than your cloud brush?
Yo, so much softer than my cloud brush. My cloud brush, and I went over this when we went over the studio things, is not soft. Oh my gosh, she's relentless.
Let me mute that for you.
Can we? Is there a way?
I think so. Hold on.
You can take it for a second. I can live without my reference for a second because this is getting real. Children. I'm rouging a little bit of a deep shadow in the corner. And we will pull these two areas apart from each other in a minute. I just really want to get in there, and then I'm going to bring this in.
I'll just
turn off all things.
I did.
Did you turn off all the things?
Airport.
I thought I had turned off all the. We had to go airport. I should have gone
airport mode.
I had to go airport. Look how good that looks right there.
No more children.
A little bit of my black and brown here in my glazing
Where'd you go?
medium, and we're going to come through and rouge this through. So you can see, oh, it's looking good, isn't it? I really like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to take a little bit of my magenta and some white in my brush. It's not really as much clean as I'm going to just kind of pull a little bit of a highlight right here in this space above the lid. And kind of crease that there. If you've been having trouble with your makeup, you'll have less now.
It's a makeup skill too.
It's a makeup skill too.
It's a pretty fantastic eye you have there.
It's gonna be pretty awesome when it's done. I'm gonna continue to kind of bring this around here. Right now we're just using our black glazy medium. The pink underneath will kind of pull through and show. I'm going to come along here and I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to kind of go dot, dot, dot. It won't be and then we're going to come up a bit into this eye up here.
Okay. Lily asks,
Hi, Lily.
when cinnamon blends with her finger, is it super soft or what?
My finger?
Can't tell. What do your finger blends?
There's my finger blends. So my pressure's
do a finger
fairly
blend.
firm, and I'm working the paint when it's wet, and I'm just diffusing it. What I would say is the issue is as you paint with your finger, the acrylic wants to stick to the acrylic, so you do have to clean your finger every once in a while, and you don't want to do it with cadmium. That would be my finger advice. Don't do it with cadmium. Don't do it with cadmium. Now I'm going to take a little of my black and my blue. I will get some of my glazing medium in that as well. That's a good question. How much pressure? Under pressure. I'm going to be moving this reflection quite a lot, but I might as well just bring it through at this moment. Thank you for spending this time with me, guys. I really wanted to paint this for a long time, so I'm just enjoying the process.
Well, everyone's really enjoying painting this with you.
It's a joy.
It's a nice painting.
It's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. You know, and come in here and get a little of my orange. I'm going to come here and a little more orange than that, a little more red. Tapping this up and down. Let's make that a kind of a regular shape here. Number 4 round. And as we go up into the eye, we can always get a little more yellow into it. Now I'm kind of dry brushing. That's allowing a lot of the canvas to show through underneath. Brush isn't wet. I'm just dry brushing it up. We're brushing a little bit right there. So there's a little reflection of that and that. Yeah, that just illuminates it. Just a titch. Too much, just a titch of illumination is what you're looking for. Little bits of illumination here and there. And what's going on. There's really actually, interestingly enough, not a huge amount of color on her eye. There's a lot of kohl or dark pigment shadow. I'm going to get back into my soft brush again. The number 12 round blender. I'm going to get into my black. And I know that I will be changing the water again.
Yeah.
But at this stage, I've really got to start to get this here. And I'm going to just go up and down with the brush. And this is just sort of the makeup has been smudged. Smudged. It's been a day, man. She's had a day. She doesn't need to explain to you, but she's had a day. And so in that day, we're going to try to capture that. Sometimes I put a little blue into that because I feel like I see a little bit of blue there coming off the side of that. And we're just sometimes things just don't go how we hope.
That happens.
It does.
But then sometimes.
It does. But we get to paint both times. I paint all the times.
Painting is the key.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I love to paint really, really happy moments, but this is also fun too. I'm up here. I'm going to get into the blue a bit. See how we're starting to pull it all together?
Oh, that's nice. Inova says, watching cinema is like watching a new episode of WandaVision for me. I count the days.
I love WandaVision. Thank you. That's a compliment. That's a good compliment. Thank you. WandaVision is so good. I'm going to take a little blue and I'm going to kind of glaze a bit of shadow here from this highlight back. You can see. And that'll be important because when we put the reflection light on her, we'll really want that there. I really love. The trick is you don't want to make patterns. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
You don't make patterns to keep what's going on under her eye sort of random. And it's okay to go into the blue. Because that's what we want to do, right? We want to go into the blue. Into the wild blue yonder. We have a lot to do under water. Now, back into our little round detail. We're going to take a little bit of our yellow, red, but mostly yellow, and some white.
Mm-hmm.
Not white, but definitely lighter. Everybody wants to, when they're doing like a gold glitter or shimmer and stuff, they always want to go into like glitter paint. And you can. You can, but you don't need to. Just touching. Can you see I'm just doing little tiny touches? These are little moments. These are not huge moments. These are little moments.
Subtle moments.
Subtle little moments. And they're important moments, though. And you've got to get them. If you want to get them, you got to get them. Rinsing out, I'm getting into my blue and my white again. A little more white right here at the corner of her eye. And then absolutely here into the lid. Break those lines up. You don't want solid lines. You want to show these creases. This is darker blue right here. Breaking up that line, it really helps define lots of elements of the space of her eye and her face, and you can see that coming together. How you doing at home? Are you doing it with me? I hope so. I hope you're doing it with me. You know, we come off the back end of the eye here. Then we're going to go a little more into the white. Still a little blue, but a little more into the white, right? So it's a bit brighter.
Mm-hmm.
Little bright white dots. Be a big deal when the water's there. You want a few of them here. Back into the blue and white. Come down and do some of this detailing here as well. Paste up on the lid up here. Lots to do.
Lots to do.
In a piece like this, there's a lot to do. It is a wonderful exercise in seeing those things that you need to do. Let's go. Isn't this beautiful? Beautiful. A little more white on this brush. Just some pops of pure white up here.
Oh, those highlights are amazing.
Kind of carry these down a little curve. You know, and that's where references, people are like, you know, do you paint without references? And yes, in some sense, but references help us understand how light impacts what we're looking at. And if you work entirely without references, then
You have no reference?
you have no reference. There's nothing really to understand to even talk about. You're like, how do you even talk about what you're seeing?
Now, Joyce was asking if you're interested in finding out more about where I can watch this crazy pink-haired girl paint. Is there a schedule or a tool that allows me to find that?
We do have a calendar on our website, TheArtSherpa.com, and you can go to the calendar and check out that. Sometimes things change in the calendars and adjust, but generally it goes like this. Tuesday in the evening, I had been doing 5. I'm going to move it up to 4 so I can do some bigger lessons like this. And then Saturday at 1, we do big 16 by 20. Wednesday, we do watercolor. We're going to do wave this week. Starting April 1st, if you like me and you want to learn how to paint water all the way through, come start and join me every day on April 1st to April 30th. Because I'm going to teach you how to do that on a daily painting journey each day with step-by-step mini books before the lesson drops. What? I know. So excited. So excited. I'm kind of taking a little off-white there and kind of adding a little bit of a shimmer down that. You guys getting a sense of her?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to put some of these little moments here because remember, she's wet. Just dance your little brush around. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get a sense of things that they happened.
Yeah.
Right? And that kind of tells you that they happened. Let's call that a step, and then we'll do brows and lashes. Brows and lashes. Boop,
Brows
boop, boop.
and
And
lashes.
then more highlights, and brows and lashes, and more highlights. Because you need it. Fun stuff, right? Painting an eye. Realistic eye. Yes, we are. Ah, yep. And you're doing it. Okay, it's great that I do it. That's fantastic. I've been painting a minute, but it's fantastic when you do it. That's when I know I did a good job. That's what I'm looking for in my good job, is to know that I got you guys through. All right, I'm going to take my number 1 monogram liner. And then I'm going to put some lashes here. And when I lash on an eye like this, I'm going to curl a little bit and come forward. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes they even kind of might come down. And you're going to try to catch those as you go. I'm pretty good. I could have been a lash technician, I guess.
Lash technician.
Because I know how to make them look realistic. When they're over here, they're going to curl a little bit up and to the left. And when they come back, they're going to curve a little bit and up and to the right at the center. They'll come a little bit towards you. You don't need too many on her. She's not too lash heavy.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're either going to have to wrap it up on this step or make it 2 more steps.
Oh, no, there's many more.
Okay.
We're in no danger.
Okay. Many more. Ha.
Just a little bit here. Because we got to do the water
Yeah, you
coming
got
down her
stuff.
face.
Yeah,
And
you
there's a
got
bunch of stuff. So we've got a minute.
So, do you have some beginner paintings that are not acrylic April?
I do have beginner, 1,000 of them. 1,500 really. Depending on where you're at, we rate them from 1 hoot to 3 hoot. I even have a bunch of Q-tip paintings. So I'm here for you guys for like wherever you're at right now.
You can
Let's curve
probably
these back around.
click on the Art Sherpa. They are on YouTube, and you can go over to our playlists, and you'll see a 1 hoot playlist.
Mm-hmm.
That'll have a whole bazillion D.
Whole bazillion D.
Mm-hmm.
So
Any of those.
We do want a little lash on her. I mean, we told the story of the reflections, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can come in and even kind of add shadows to those. Make them even a little more realistic. And once we have that, and again, the lashes are light through here. They're not a heavy thing. And you've got water coming through, so you don't want to make them too heavy. We're going to begin the very busy business of her brows.
Mm.
I will do fine hairs to the outer edge. I want to make sure that there's some hairs that are very defined and some that are fine. You know, some that are tiny and sometimes they will cluster together and kind of create kind of a shape.
Mm-hmm.
Like right here. But then sometimes, you know, maybe there'll be a little bit light coming down.
Ooh. Now that's very randomy.
It's so randomy, isn't it?
It is.
And again, you've got a minute, so take your time. And that's why also the other reason it's nice to have that sort of dark shading where you know you're going to have your eyebrows and they're going to go. And yeah, we're going to have all this thing with the highlights on them and they're going to look wet and watery. This is going to like blow your mind. But beyond all that, right? Like if I can encourage you, and I do this all the time with my students, if you're brand new here, be prepared for the challenge. Spend a minute and really look at your brows and start looking at other people's brows. Now,
this gets kind of creepy in public because you're like,
it does.
Is that person staring at me? And they're like, I'm looking at your eyebrows. That doesn't help.
Yeah, then they're gonna be like self-conscious. I gotta look thick there
running
with
away
that one.
from you. Don't look at my eyebrows.
I do get some looks on occasion, but that's how I understand some things. You know, and you can do it on film, right? You want to have like a mind-blowing moment, take a minute and really zoom in on every member of BTS's eyebrows. There's a lot happening there. I did that one day. I was like, everybody here's so pretty, perfect. What's going on?
Someone has their lashes manicured.
Oh my, there's no way to even explain it. But just start to take a minute and really look at things as you know they're happening and see if you can notice how they go. Look at that. Look at those coming in beautifully. I ran them well. You know, I think.
See, I ran them well, but only when I'm trying to make a straight line.
I just want to come in here and really just do this. It's just fun for me. So this is very different than when I'm painting loose. You know, sometimes I like to paint loose and expressive and be like, oh, brow, 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 skin, skin, skin. Sometimes I'm like, let's paint every eyebrow hair today. What should we do today? And you never know when you paint with me. Some days it's every eyebrow hair. Some days it's not.
It's some detail in there today.
Some days it is. A little bit bigger through there because we know we're going to have the water, so that'll change that focus just a bit. By the way, if you didn't know.
I did not know.
And then back to what we were doing before. And again, it's just a number 1 monogram liner. Great brush. Some different little hair going around. I like to get. Shh. That's not bad. Right? It's, however, it needs some stuff. Let's get into our white. And actually, we got to get into our gray first. It usually goes white. It usually goes gray and then white. So you gotta get into your gray and then you get into your white. Because there'll be some kind of blue. And you'll need to show those before you hit those reflections on there. Need is strong. Should is more accurate. So I have the gray. And then I'm going to get into my white number 1 monogram liner.
I pulled up the color there so we could see the shadows there a little clearer while you're... Because this is a very dark piece, relatively speaking.
Yeah, it is. That's what we're doing, is we're adding these reflections to the brows. Do they matter? I suspect that they do. Especially since we're trying to say that this is white. It's just too good.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much fun. I don't do this enough on the channel. Because it's kidnapping John for a very long time.
Actually, I don't mind this at all.
Really?
Yeah, no, not at all.
You should do it more. Add some of the little white reflections that might be here.
And you've put up the size dimensions for your brushes for acrylic, April?
Yes. And I'm only using those on this lesson.
And you can use whatever brand you like.
Whatever brand you like.
Just the dimensions are up there for you.
And even then, you can use any brush you can paint along with. I'm telling you what I'm using. That doesn't mean that that's what you have to use. Right? That's not what that is.
It's up to you.
It really is up to you.
Some teacher thought you should have some options.
No. I pick you guys first. You're my first priority.
Dot, 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 dot.
The dots matter, man.
Little highlights.
Really count. We have a lot of them to do. All right, let's call that a step because we got a lot in.
Yeah?
Look at her go. Look at her being awesome. Isn't she awesome? She's awesome. Let's enjoy her beautiful eye. Yeah. Rich. Don't worry. We'll go straight to step 14 and skip 12 if we
Does it have any
Cool.
skateboards to it?
No, I'm sure I've got enough left. I'm sure I've got enough left. I'll make it more than one step left. I'll tell you that right now. I'll make
All
it
right.
more. All right, so let's dry everything and chalk things in.
Okay. So, she's going to chalk in I think the next thing is the drippy part. She's cooking along here faster than she thought she would. So, I think that we'll have her draw in this as a step so that makes it easier, and then maybe have her paint that final one. So you're gonna draw in this one as the next step?
Yeah, we'll sketch in for a step, and then that way there absolutely has
So,
to be more than
12 is gonna be you sketching this in.
Yes. So I'm going to come in and look at my reference and very carefully draw in the process of my water coming down her face. Now remember, water catches, skin isn't even, and there's a whole event of things happening here. This kind of comes through the eyebrow pretty heavily. And then down in the bridge of her nose. Not the bridge, the side of her nose, the slope of her nose. Easier if it were the bridge. And we'll say that there's a bit of a, I may or may not do that one there. But there is some water going that way. Now, for sure, she's got this perfect, awesome tear, so we want to exaggerate that. And then there's one here. We don't want that to go anywhere. Let's draw what we've got here. Catches the eye. And it comes down through here and over. And weirdly tapers out. And then there is also a bit of a drip there. All right, so we sketch it in, and you can, it's weird, like even the act of sketching it in makes it seem like it's there a little more, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So weird how that is. And actually, but we need the opposite of what we sketch in, we need shadows. So we'll take a photograph of this, and this step is make a plan in your painting about where the water is going to run. Make sure you have an idea before you start applying paint to canvas. And we'll get through step 13, and then we'll finish on 14. Knock on wood. Yay! You know why, right? Like, there's no reason to, be safe, right? Be safe. I'll put out some more. Oh, I got to mist my paper. It's getting a little dry there. Missed you too, apparently. And then I'm also going to put out some glazing medium.
All right.
Okay. Some glazing medium, because we're going to get into that for sure.
We'll have to wait for you to adjust your surface there, and then I'll get you centered.
All right. All right. Water is all finished out with some clean water. Clean water is always a good idea. Clean water is one of the number one things you can do to make sure your paintings stay brighter.
All right.
And don't get dim on you. Yeah. We don't play. We do. All right. So in water, one of the first things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take maybe a little bit of your burnt sienna and some of your Mars Black, and you're going to get some glazing medium. No white. You don't want any white. Come along here. I think I even almost want a little of my magenta into it. What's happening is I put too much water on my canvas. You've ever done that? It's super frustrating.
And it erases.
It does. It completely erases, and honestly, it doesn't in any way hurt you. You're okay. Come along here, and I'm going to follow the edge with my number 4 round and my black and brown. Glazing medium is a big part of this. Magenta into it, why not? Come here. A little bit darker here. So I might get a little more into the black.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more of a shadow there. And I definitely want to take out all of the chalk. Come along with just the dark here on the toe of the brush.
The toe of the brush.
Burnt sienna into it. And when you're painting any kind of reflection of water, you're really painting the shadows and the highlights and the way it bends light. So you don't paint the part you can't see, the see-through part. You paint all the parts you can see. But sometimes it feels like we're painting the part we can't see, and it can kind of throw our mind off of the job.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little cad red into the black. Sort of interesting little deepening red cast. Blending that out a little bit. And then where I've got to come up with like a slightly darker edge, exaggerate it through there. Thin though. You want it to be thin. Meandery. So along here with the dark line. On the toe of the brush, very light. Pressure's light, brush is light. Breathe. As I come down here, I will pull some of the heavy dark through here, across the eye, blend it up. A little heavier dark there. Can you see what I'm doing?
I do.
A shadow right there. And then one right here. Just a light glaze of a shadow under that tier. And then glaze of a shadow under that tier. That's how we do.
How do you do?
And this one is a little bit lighter than the others. It can be a little more into the brown. We won't really see it till we highlight it. Look at that go. Oh yeah, we do this live on YouTube. I'm talking a little smack here, I know. But I feel like
Put the drippy down.
I'm putting the drippy down. I'm adding a little brown and black glaze here. Along that edge, I'll add a little brown and black glaze. Oh, let's not forget the little drippy under this brow, where everything was a little wet above it. That's actually why it was. Look at that. Exaggerate where necessary. Gonna add a little blue black right here. I'll probably really focus the eye like in its own segment because there's so many reflections happening here. We want to make sure that this reflection looks like it's lifted from the eye and is falling over her face. How excited is everybody?
Very excited.
I love when we give a lesson that you just know that people are going to be so excited to try.
Yeah.
And that the step-by-step mini book is going to make a big difference when you guys can break it down and see it.
Chantal can't wait. I hope I say your name right, Chantal.
Hi, Chantal.
She can't wait to try this one. And there were lots of folks saying, "I love this one. Can't do it. Can't wait to do it."
It's just.
I've got the. Let me get back over where you're working.
All right, so I'm down here and I'm just adding a little shadow in the brown and black, right?
And I've got the.
And then I'll come in on the side with just a little bit of the black. Maybe a little more brown there than black. All right. We're going to call that a step because you really got to get that in to get anything else in. Ha! See? So are we on to 14?
The art.
Yay, then everything is gravy from here. I don't got to worry about nothing. If you're like that, you're like me and you're like, I'm just going to throw salt over my shoulder and I'm not going to walk on our ladder and I'm not going to do any of these things. Not because my intellectual mind doesn't understand it's not a flat earth and it's, I get it, science, I get it, but also sometimes I just worry.
Sometimes you're just superstitious.
Sometimes one just is. So I'm going to take a little of my white and brown and maybe a little of my yellow, and we need kind of a lighter color. I'm going to get some of my white into it. I'm going to come in the center of the water, and we need to create highlights that are her flesh tone, but a little bit lighter than her flesh tone.
And just so everyone knows, I've increased the light gain on the side camera so you can see the underneath the shadow of her hand a little easier when she's painting, because the the skin tone and the colors of the eye are hard to pick up there in the shadows. So I've just increased some of the gain there.
It does help though. So we're just creating a highlight that's the lens effect that's under the water that's rolling down her face. And you'll notice I'm kind of weaving this one here and weaving one next to it. I make these decisions really entirely based on the reference. The reference shows me where the water goes. I don't try to guess it out really specifically. I'm going to get a little smaller than this for under the brow here. Maybe add a little more yellow into it. Coming up into the hairs even. See how we're doing? Find a little highlight here that's even beyond. So there's a little yellow in this highlight. Pulling it up. A little bit of here. And I just shade. Don't. Maybe there's a bit of a highlight right here. It's not my bright white reflections. These are lenses in through the water where light is bent.
I see.
You want to capture some of that. It's an important part of it. A little bit there down the side. A little bit there. Certainly some here, right at the shadow. Let's come up here, starting at the top. And again, similar kind of event, right? A little more white here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right there.
That's looking good.
Yeah, you just got to slow down and look. You just got to observe. That one's going to take like a detail brush. It's going to take a minute or a thought there because you've got to capture some of this. Now, while we're here, I'm going to get into my yellow. A little of my white. My glazing medium. And right here at this edge. Sometimes it might even need a little orange. Just the way that it reflects. Tapping it down and just make sure it's there. And the red where I need to go a little orange out into the shadow of the reflection. See how we're going?
I do.
We're creating a little light. There's a little space of light that's happening that we have to kind of notice. Right there. And then if you need to, you just capture that like shadow that's cast from it. Because there's a shadow that's cast right there. Not down there. Bring the light down there. A little bit up there. Kind of exaggerated. Okay, so here, through here, let's get into our white and our ultramarine blue. We need highlights. What I'm doing is I'm dealing with skinning. There's a bunch of dry paint. I don't want it on my brush. Okay. So look at what you see, and you try to, as best as you can, duplicate swirls and reflections.
Sharon says, I usually don't chat. I always watch, but I wanted to say this is amazing.
Thank you! Right here. We know we've broken a lot of things in the way the eye is reflected, so we've got to kind of show that this water coming down over the eye has again broken that light.
Mm-hmm.
Which is okay. That's what it's supposed to do. We're not mad at it. You just have to capture it. This is so much like when we did the tentacle one. Similar concept. We had to capture all these little swirls and all that, if you remember, in the water.
I do.
Now, it gets a little mind-bending here, so just do your best. I'm going to get my black. Is this one gets me. We're just going to have to try to capture these lines and patterns. A little more brown in that. Okay. Capturing those patterns.
Oh, wow.
Just kind of dance around. I want to find the places that we can make dance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a shadow here. I'm going to take a little bit of my glaze and my black, maybe a little blue, just to exaggerate it. And we see it coming down from the drop. Sort of separates. Connects back up into the stream here. Very important.
Ooh.
Bring some of that glaze through. Working some of those values through here. All right. The last bit is going to bring it all together and is probably going to be the most like considered work, but it's going to be what makes this piece go, what? Where you go, what? So we're going to call it a step and finish it up. I'm going to
Okay.
stretch my back because, woo!
That would mean that we need 15.
15 is a lucky, lucky number. I hope so. When the water reflects and oh, you're going to love it. It's going to be one of your favorites we've ever done. I'm so proud of this one. I love it when I'm proud of them. But again, I won't know it's a winner until I see yours. And so I cannot wait to hear your feedback when you do these. Let me know what it was like for you, what helped, what was challenging. All of that helps me be a better teacher online, which is, while I'm here, I'm going to put out some more of my golden fluid acrylic. I like that very much because it is highly pigmented. I'm going to bring down a little wiggly line that water has, right? Because water has that. I don't know. You count it again. Put it up, whatever it is. I can't mind
Maybe
waiting.
that was 14. Was that 14? I could put 14 up.
You
that
had
was
put up 15, but was it 14?
It may have been 14.
The timestamps will get you where you need to go. Don't worry, because it's a big one, so we want to make sure you can find your way through.
But we'll get you there.
And we're just going to
Maybe I was correct. I don't know.
let them tell you.
They will work that out.
The internet is helpful sometimes.
They are. But luckily, the timestamps will get you there, even if the name is not.
So we're just adding the reflections on the water, and that's what pulls the drop
That's
out.
the important part.
What makes it the drop? This. And the little bits of sparkle light that happen because, her skin is wet. And so she would have these little moments. She would. On top of that, we've got a few of them like here. Make the inside of the eye really, what? Gotta be beautiful. A little bit of that reflection there. If I need to get the glaze into even my little brush, and I just make sure that the front of my drop has a little bit of a highlight. It helps wet it, make it like wet and noticeably so. Dry brushing kind of right here.
That's a small brush to dry brush with.
It is, but I'm trying to get some control over it because I'm doing the shadow. All right, we've got a bit of a shadow there, so I just want to have control over what's happening in my shadow. We're going to come up to the top. These are the very reflective parts of the water.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I didn't catch what you were doing there.
It does what it do.
Yeah.
And I could probably do it with a bigger brush, but this just gives me some control right now.
Mm-hmm. So you can see what you're doing there.
Mm-hmm. It also asks me to slow down and pay attention to what is going on.
Would acrylic fluid white be easy to use here?
Yep. I'm using acrylic fluid white. That was in the beginning. Pull that out.
I wasn't sure if that was the other kind.
No, you could use craft paint if you can't get the golden white, and that's okay. Craft paint is real paint. Craft paint is real paint.
Mm-hmm.
So I like deco. You might like something else. But I like deco. I think they do a really good job. Trying to make sure I get the tops of the water that's coming down over her face.
Just some random sparklage.
Yeah, because she's the water hitter, and just make the dots big and small, right? Like they're not all the same size. The way the reflections will hit won't all be the same. And interestingly enough, not too much through here over the brow. A little bit of a reflection there. There we go. A little bit happening there. Really right there at that thing where it starts to get what?
Mm-hmm.
We start to do a little twist of the water. Curve of the world. Oh, she's so pretty. Sometimes we get reflections to the outside of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Important to capture those coming through. Yeah. And again, there's nothing like observing it and just trying to capture it in the way that you can to really like.
Those highlights are
I
amazing.
don't want the chalk right now here. It'll disturb what we're doing. And it's highlights, right? You need the highlights, and that's where the piece comes from. Just bring these through. And sometimes I even get quiet because I have to think about it, you know?
Getting all focused in there and drawn into the details.
Sometimes you have to get drawn into the details. In life, try not to get drawn into the details.
Yeah.
But in your painting, it's okay every once in a while.
That's amazing.
Paint the water coming down her eye. Sometimes it feels like art like this is for other people, other artists online. I hear that from my students, like I could never do that. And I always think to myself, yeah, you could. Somebody just needs to slow down and explain it. Yeah, you could. They did it. You can do it. They did it. You can do it. They did it. Yes, you can. Much better use of our time as people. Oh, this little dancing marks, okay, guys? Little dancing marks. Dancing marks.
I can't wait. These are so good. And a happy birthday to Lubella.
Oh, Lubella? Oh my gosh, that's so close to Lunabella, which is my daughter.
Lulabella.
Lulabella.
Lulabelle.
Lulabelle? Lulabella? Lubella? What is it? John is so bad with names. Listen, happy birthday.
Lulabelle. I'm pretty sure it's Lulabelle.
John struggles.
And there's a lot of little L's in that name.
Well, in all fairness, his daughter's Lunabella, so he struggled there too. He was like, what do you want to name her? I'm like, Luna Lovegood? Bella? Twilight? Smush them together? Awesomest name ever. And also hadn't been used in the census for like 100 years when we did it, according to some internet article, which is for sure true, right? At least at that point in my pregnancy, I believed it was. Though, of course, when I'm pregnant, I would not be anymore under any circumstances. But when I was pregnant, I was like a big CSI and really Law and Order fan. So we all have weird little things that we get into in those places, right? So these are the little touches of the light that could be hitting out here that are kind of going on from where, maybe something. And I feel like this is super empty, guys. So let's call this a step, and then I'm gonna fix this empty spot because it's bugging me.
Yeah.
Like everything is pretty perfect now. I'm gonna fix what I feel is this empty spot because it's bugging me, and then we'll call it done.
Okay.
Yeah, I just gotta fix the empty spot though, because this is a lot of just not a lot happening here.
So the proper name for this step should be 16.
Okay. So we did 15 earlier, so
yep, this one should be 16.
16.
So
adding the bit that it's just too open and it bothers me, and I want to kind of finish some little details. So like in a painting, you should always look at it and evaluate and go, is there a spot that bugs me? Is there something that isn't working? Is there something I need to define or think about more and finish? And you never want to be so tired in your painting session. Like I've got to power through because these are our lessons. You guys, if you're in a painting and you're feeling that kind of tired, back away. Right? Back away and come back.
What you doing there? Adding some little flyaways.
Yeah, I feel like and she kind of had this here.
Yeah.
And I think it's necessary in the piece. Just because it adds some context to what's going on with her, and I can kind of make sure that my eyebrows are good.
Mm.
And you got to make sure the little eyebrows are good. What we're going to do here is we're going to add any little water reflections or anything that needs to be done. And first I'm going to get a little black and blue. Kind of shade some of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little shade here.
A little back into the drop shading. Something to speak to that. Not a perfect white yet. I want kind of an off-white. I'm ready to come on this side. And we'll come on also that same side. And then we'll put the highlights. It just feels like sometimes when you're doing something that you want to make sure you have all the stuff. And then that will let me add a little bit of like,
excuse me.
Kind of dimension and everything out here, so she's not completely.
Ashley wanted to say that she was not feeling good today, but after stopping by and smiling and laughing, she's feeling a lot better and appreciates the time you spent with her.
I'm sorry you weren't feeling good today, and I'm really glad that any of this helped you feel better at all. I hope it gets better and better and better and better and better.
Mm.
Better and better and better and better and better. Adding those little bits.
Little bits.
Little bits will never hurt you. Well, I suppose there's a point when they would, but it's art, so how bad could it really go? I imagine you could do like another hour and just finding those little moments on her that are specific. But I think for our purposes, I think we've gotten there. You guys get it?
I think so.
Understand how that's done?
That's pretty amazing.
Let's sign her. So
yeah.
I'm going to probably do a black blue signature kind of off to the side. I don't really want anything to pull away from the work that I've done. So I don't want to pick anything that will pull my eye too much. I think it's important, and I know this is funny considering whose daughter I am, but I think it's important that one signature isn't distracting to the painting or pulling the eye. And that is just my way. Because, I do this kind of work and you go through all these little dots and you just don't really want everyone to look at your signature. So this is how I would paint this.
I think this turned out amazing.
I'm pretty happy with this. I feel like I love it when I always feel like every reference photo has a promise, and I feel like I kept today's promise.
Can I say thank you to everybody who joined us? That was awesome.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort in, trying everything and going for it. I hope you really like your result. If you're here on the live, We'll have timestamps up in a little bit, and then and then in a few days out, we'll have step-by-steps. If you're here through the magic of time travel on YouTube, thank you so much. And whichever you are, don't forget to hit the subscribe, because that's how you know I'm doing one of these crazy things. You hit the subscribe, and theoretically YouTube tells you hit the bell, sign up for the text notifications. We'll tell you I'm going to be back Saturday at 1. And if you're on Facebook, I might learn how to do watercolor 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my Facebook page. You about ready to say the goodbye and take the tour, John?
I think so.
Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.